We're going to get it. I just don't know how. Hey guys, yesterday I just about got that power steering pump, vacuum pump out. I had a lot of trouble with the bolts underneath. I could pretty much get my wrench on them, but getting a purchase on them and moving them was a little bit more difficult. So I just want to show you a couple of the struggles that I've been having, and maybe you have some ideas to make it easier. Or it'll just kind of let you know what to expect. Let me show you. The first thing I want to try to do is get you guys focused in on that mirror down there. That's the other bolt that holds the vacuum pump on, and you can reach that from underneath, and that's how I reached it. But I'm wondering if once I take this oil feed line off, that's what that hose is there, if I can actually loosen it from the top with that out of the way. But there's the other bolts. And then the other issue I'm having, so we're on the back of the power steering pump now, and I'll see if I can get some light down there for you. I cannot for the life of me get a wrench on that fitting down there, that high pressure fitting. So my thought is to take the vacuum pump off the block and then pivot the whole assembly and take it off that way. We're going to get it. I just don't know how. I wonder if this is one of those times when a crow's foot, I never really understood what a crow's foot, what you do with them, but maybe this is a good time for a crow's foot. So I was watching the video about getting that oil feed line off, and somebody said you can put a crescent wrench or an adjustable wrench on the angle and then loosen the nut, because I did notice that, as well, that the supply line really did want to move and snap. So before we put too much stress on that, I will try that. This is the wrench I use to get the vacuum pump bolts loose from underneath, and it's like 18 inches long. It's got a pivoting head, and it's also got a very fine teeth. There's 120 positions on this one, and I don't care if you get a gear wrench one, but I mean, these wrenches are just lifesavers, because this is the wrench that got that bolt for me. These fine-toothed, long-handled wrenches are just awesome in my opinion. And then I did a video about these guys a while back. This is a 120 XP XL wrench. It's a ratcheting wrench on one end and a fixed head wrench on the other end, but it's really long. So this is a 15 millimeter. It's part number 86115. And these guys as well, I think I was trying this one to get to that bolt underneath as well. And I'm not really sure which of these were the ones that broke it free, but I can tell you that without these wrenches, it would have really not been fun. It would have been even less fun than it already was. That's pretty much where we are. And the only other thing is it's Saturday afternoon right now, and tomorrow at some point it's supposed to start snowing and snow through Monday, and we're supposed to get 10 inches give or take. So I'd really like to get this guy out so I can focus on rebuilding the vacuum pump, mounting the power steering pump. So once the weather clears, unfortunately it's going to be like a high of 30 for the next week after that, but I'd like to get this guy out, without doing anything stupid, so I can bring it inside and work on it when the weather gets bad, and then hopefully we'll have a nicer day, and hopefully things will go back together a little bit more smoothly than they came apart. Plus I'm not really in a rush, because I know I'm waiting on parts, and honestly I just don't want to rush into this. It's very easy to take stuff apart. The secret is to be able to get it back together. So we'll keep moving forward. So the level is now at 72, and I think if I just stay calm, relax, enjoy the voiceover, everything should be good. Oh, what, were we live there? Oh my God. Hey guys. That was just me getting ready to record here. Things never go smoothly when repairing cars and using Adobe Premiere. I've been at this for a while, and It constantly amazes me at all the bugs and the things I have to learn and relearn. But getting back to the power steering vacuum pump project here. I just included these clips of me fiddling with that high pressure fitting, trying to get a wrench in there, and I mean, you can see I'm hitting this thing from every angle and having absolutely no luck. So if you're doing this repair, the secret, which we'll discuss more later, is get yourself some flare nut crow's foot wrenches. You put it on like a 3 to 6 inch extension, and you can very easily make it to that bolt. And there is a trick to using crow's foot wrenches, which we'll also discuss later in the video. But for now, just know that this was very frustrating. I felt like an absolute maroon trying to do this, and was really questioning what the heck I was doing in this engine bay, because I was clearly an idiot who had no clue how to use a wrench. So I decided to just move on and try to loosen some of the other bolts, and my best effort was going to be to just lift that whole power steering vacuum pump out of the truck. We'll still attach the high pressure line and try to get a better angle on the high pressure line. The next line I'm working on there is the oil feed for the vacuum pump, and it's been 17 years, no one's touched this guy. She's frozen on there. So initially I could get it to move, but when it started to move, I was having trouble because the line, you see the wrench on the line there, was moving, and I was afraid I was going to crack it. So, if you're just going to rip it off and replace it, that's fine, and I did replace it, but I wanted to see if I could, loosen this bolt without actually breaking the oil line. And unfortunately, it was a great tip to put the wrench in there, but once you get the wrench in there, it's really tight and difficult to work. The other weird thing that happened was, I could get this fitting to start rotating, but there was like a hitch in it. You could move it, maybe a half a turn or so, and it was kind of getting stuck. So I know I went back and forth a few times to try to loosen it up. Eventually I did decide to go ahead and hit it with some penetrating oil to loosen things up, and I don't think the penetrating oil is what did it. I think for whatever reason there was a hitch, maybe because of the oil feed line, maybe because of the age, and once I got to a certain point, I broke the hitch. So right here the fitting is clearly moving, but if you watch, it's coming soon. It's kind of stuck there until, right there, it just let go. If you take a look at the bottom of the screen here, you can see my ratchet just barely pop into view, and what I'm trying to do here is loosen the bottom bolt that holds the vacuum pump on. And I don't really remember if I got that bottom bolt from underneath the motor or from in the engine bay, but I do just want to say you can reach the bottom bolt that holds the vacuum pump to the timing cover by reaching from the top of the bay over, and we'll show that later. Based on the fact that I'm using the shorter Craftsman ratchet there, I've already broken that bolt free, and I'm just trying to get it out. And it's tricky to get under there with the ratchet to loosen the bolt up, but it's not impossible. So eventually, rather than just trying to stick my ratchet under there and get it, I would kind of feel around where the head of the bolt was, and then reach under and make sure I had a good purchase on the bolt before I started to turn it, because if you just tried to rush in, it was very frustrating. And then it is a fairly long bolt, so I'd end up stop turning the ratchet for a while, try to get it with my hand, and then go back and forth. But I just want to say, you can break that free from the top, and you can tighten it and torque it from the top as well. So I did go underneath and put my fingers on that bolt, loosen it because, again, it's got a lot of threads and it seemed to be taking forever to get out. So, you know, as a right-hand dominant person, it was much easier to go under and unscrew it. But you can do this from the top. Just know that it's a really long bolt and it's going to take a while. So here we go again. We're on the last bolt, and I've got my my ratchet on it, and it's just not moving. All I could get it to do was to move a little bit right here, just barely, and it moved so little I was concerned that I screwed the threads up. I believe this is going into to aluminum on the timing cover. So as I've mentioned before, possibly too many times, I just grabbed my favorite wrench, the Gear Wrench 120 XP, and watch it break free here. I can't say enough about those wrenches. I just really, really like them. And I'm going to say again, it's not like I use those wrenches every day, but in situations like this, when I do use them, I'm just so glad I have them. It's funny, if you watch that clip the last 10 seconds or so again, you'll see that I flip the wrench over, because usually wrenches have a 15-degree offset, so if you flip it, you can get a better purchase on a bolt you're loosening. Well, the one thing about spline drive wrenches like that is they don't have that offset. All right, we're down to the last bolt. Broke it free. All we need to do is loosen it. And you know, the funny thing about this one is it's got the weight of the power steering pump and vacuum pump on it, so it doesn't really want to loosen that easy. You know, it feels like the threads are messed up just because of the weight of the vacuum pump and the power steering pump. At some point, what I end up doing is I actually lift up on the power steering pump to take some of the pressure off, so I can spin it out by hand. And again, they're really long bolts with a lot of threads. So, you know, it took a while, and I thought I might be doing something wrong. But there's just a lot of threads on these bolts, so it takes a while to get them out. Awkward! Here we are. We're about to pull the final bolt, and we're ready to remove the power steering pump. Initially, I thought I would just, pull the power steering vacuum pump, set it in the bay, and leave it in a good spot so I could get that high pressure line off. And I don't think I tried a backing wrench when it was laying like that. But, that high pressure line was on there tight, and there was again no way it was coming off in the bay. So, unfortunately, what I ended up doing was, although you can't tell, my temper got the best of me, and I basically just ripped that sucker out of there. I really wish I would have walked away for a few minutes, but I just started grabbing and pulling, and luckily nothing got damaged, but I wasn't really paying as much attention to the wires and hoses and wraps in there as I should have been. But luckily, it came out okay, and unless I had told you that, you would assume that this was a precise method of removing the power steering vacuum pump. Well, that wasn't so bad, now was it? What's my problem? The O-ring it's all in one piece, but it's certainly been smushed, that's for sure. There's the cavity. So now's a good time to either paint the frame or coat it with something. Look, you can see the salt forming on the where the rust was already in there. Well, there we go, guys. We got her out, and I think I'm supposed to be feeling exhilarated that I got it out, but I'm feeling like I just got my butt kicked. And maybe just because it's the first time, and next time it'll go a lot better. I mean, I can't say I learned all the tricks, but I did learn what seems like a logical way to take this thing apart. Oh, and there's our gasket as well. But you see how this pump is scooped? There's a company called Gould, I think it's Gould Pump. I watched a video of rebuilding this pump that he makes, and in the video he said the earlier ones were square here, and they had a tendency to crack. So that means you've got a later truck. I've got an 02. The later trucks had this C shape to them because it was less prone to cracking. So there we go. So I guess we will see you guys in the next one. Thanks.